Welcome everyone. Va a hablar traducción al español. Va a haber, perdón, va a hablar. Yes, there will be translation. What are the languages and the Zoom links? Can someone put them in the chat? And it's amazing. You know, we have, I don't know, close to 800 people registered. And Monica was like, oh my gosh, we don't have enough people for our line. And yet so far, 38 of you are on. I don't know, maybe they're on language lines. Are they on a different Zoom? They might be on other Zooms, on the language ones. But anyways, if we don't freak out and we relax, it's amazing how it all works out. Maybe if we asked a question, do we require to do anything? Wonderful. So you guys have chosen to be on this call. And Eduardo, the title of it is The Voice. You are the voice of possibilities. Tú eres la voz de posibilidades. I should have learned how to say that in multiple languages.
Tú sei la voce delle possibilità. In Italiano.
Órale. So it's interesting, as many of you know, I'm Sylvia Puentes. You should have that much. And I facilitate Right Voice for You classes all around the world. Recently, I think it was the last year where Gary Douglas asked that all 3-day Right Voice for You classes be facilitated live. So as I hop around the world, it is one of the classes that's demanded the most, and I do facilitate it. I was just recently in Colombia, and I'm headed to Mexico City, Argentina, Italy, and you know, it continues to be, someone just messaged me about going to France, and you know, I do my best to find spaces where I can get to your cities and facilitate this class. So it's interesting. Someone might ask, why this class? Why is this class so demanded? Why do you facilitate Right Voice for You? And if I look at the beginning of when I started, you know, taking classes with Access Consciousness, when I became a certified facilitator, Right Voice for You was not a class I ever thought of taking. And it was like many of you, perhaps, it was like, okay, what classes do I need? So always looking at the classes I needed, the ones that were prerequisites for another class. So if I didn't need it, I wasn't going to take it, right? If I wasn't going to get anything out of it, there was no benefit. So how many of you are looking for the benefits of what you will win, what you will get by what you choose? That doesn't allow you to receive the magic and the possibilities available for you. So if you have never heard the crazy phrase of the Access Consciousness clearing statement, this is it. So everything that is right and wrong, good and bad, pan pak, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And the gift of that clearing statement, it really is getting to that insane space, thought, point of view, belief that's locking you up. So when you're only looking to choose things, whether it's about what you say, whether it's about, you know, the next action you take, when you're only choosing it because of what you believe is the right or avoiding to do the wrong, when you're only choosing it because of what you have been taught you should do as a young lady or a gentleman or whatever that is, it's limiting any other possibility. So all the projections, all the decisions, all the judgments, and I'm sorry if I'm not speaking clearly, it's been quite a day today. And my team knows it. And right before this one, I chose to jump on Simone's effective leader call. So yes, I'm here at El Lugar and some amazing magical beings like Simone Milicis is here. So out in her casita, about 5-minute walk, she's facilitating a call too. So all of that to say, we'll be using the clearing statement throughout the night. And if you want more information, you can go to www.theclearingstatement.com. But I also would like to go to back to this point where I was sharing a little about when I started Access. I never imagined taking Right Voice for You. I didn't think I needed it, didn't really get that it was I guess a class I needed. And yet I never acknowledged whether I wanted to be on stage or not on stage. Like it wasn't even about that. It was just something far, far away, not even as a possibility for me or a choice. And then another facilitator asked if I would go to her Right Voice for You class and translate. I'd never translated before from English to Spanish. And not only that, but it was I was in California and it was way out in London. So, okay, so I went. I traveled all the way to London, got there with my suitcase and straight into class and started to translate. Well, many people think when they're doing other jobs in a class, like, oh, I'm behind the scenes. It's not really my class, I'm working. Well, little did I know, I had a short conversation with her at lunch when she invited me to come up on stage. And she knew a couple things we had already talked about, but she started to ask me more questions. And there was something that opened up that it's almost that space of totally dropping my barriers and getting to what was true for me. And we were talking about money. And I had realized that I was avoiding having way too much money and even avoiding more having my father know about it. So it was all this stuff that come up. And there was a space that totally dropped. And next thing you knew, I was crying. And up in that point, I hated crying. I'm not going to cry. So it's like, muscle up. You shouldn't cry. So there I am on stage and I got tears. I'm like, what are these tears about? And I just realized how much I care for people that I desired that no one had a story of poverty, of limitations. And that I grew up in a family where there was such a story of poverty and limitations that for me not to have them, I was hiding it. I was hiding not having the same stories as my family. So she facilitated me, asked me questions, and I got off the stage and there was a lady there that I had known for a couple of years already. And she came up to me, she goes, wow, Sylvia, it's as if I've met you for the first time. Like I finally know you. And I thought, wow, is that part of the gift of Right Voice for You, that it has you begin to shed all the walls and separations, everything you're hiding, all the masks you're wearing, all the images you think you need to be, what you should look like, sound like, that the story of your life should be a certain way. It begins to dismantle all of that so that you can show up in a space where it's not about being right or wrong, good or bad, but it's about you being way more of you. You having way more of your space. And when that shows up, what I discovered is that people receive you in such a different way. There is a level of connection that begins to occur where people are then willing, able to listen to way more. So what about Right Voice for You is more about increasing your receiving and increasing that space you can be so people can receive you way more. And then you can ask, what would I like to give voice to? Whether it's a project, whether it's a conversation, but then it's not with the image that you think you need to have. So everything that brings up, because there's an energy there for all of you right now of like, wow, what am I hiding? What are my masks? What do you mean let it go? I wouldn't know who I am. I wouldn't know what I'd be saying. And maybe I'll sound dumb and I'm supposed to be smart. I graduated from this college so what if none of that mattered? What if none of your certifications, none of your positions, none of anything from the past actually matters for you to have your voice in the world? So if you had no reference point and no past, what and where would you be speaking from? What would you speak from? What would you speak about? What would you give voice to in the world? I still love it. Alejandro in the chat just wrote, yeah, what if I didn't have to hide what I know anymore? Yes, and what if you didn't even have to define what you know? And you just be what you know. And then you choose, and then you have a little fun, and then maybe a little more fun. So everywhere you're looking to define what it is that you know, rather than acknowledging, you know, something, okay, and then choose. So the Access Consciousness tools invite you to also perceive what's light and heavy. So the lightness will always be what's true for you. Yes. So what if you're like, okay, do I go out to dinner? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes. Okay. Wow. Someone asked me to go speak at a conference. Do I go speak at the conference? It's on the other side of the country. Do I go? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, no. Okay. But how many of you have conclusions and decisions of how your voice should come out to the world? How many likes you should get on your videos? How many followers you should have for it to mean that you are being successful? How many numbers following your dollar sign in your country should you have in order to define how successful you are? That then people will listen to you. If you have that last certificate, if you're making that much money, they'll listen. Is it about that or something else? Cool. So Alejandro says, brain malfunctioning now. Sorry, you said what? If I could be what? What? Exactly. So now just be with that space. That moment, it's interesting. Recently, I had the privilege and honor really to be traveling with Dr. Dane. And in our travels, we were having different conversations. And I'm so grateful because it's like, he's okay, what other question would you guys like to ask? And it's like, oh, I can't be asking questions. That's like taking advantage and taking from Dane's time off. And yet he has so much fun facilitating. And so, and not only just fun facilitating, but changing realities and creating more possibilities. So as I would say something, he would kept catching me in definition. And I thought, oh my, like how much have we been entrained to look for definition to somehow justify that we know and that we're being something on this planet. So if you had no definition of you, of what you should look like, sound like, what would you choose? And this part, I like it because Brian, Alejandro is mentioning about like brain malfunction, like it's not computing, you know, in his head. It's like in you, that space of you doesn't compute. The true space of you as a being does not compute in this reality. It does not make sense. So then you look at your life. Wow, is there ease? Is there joy? Okay. So there's something you know that you keep choosing. So ask for more of that. And what if you don't have to define it and compute it? It's like, all right. I mean, just perceiving your energy, Alejandra, is like, how much joy do you have in your world? And how much more is available? There's this beautiful quote that we keep hearing, I keep hearing, you know, you're willing to be as great as others, but not as great as you. That part where it's like, well, yeah, I'm as great as most people. Okay. Or I'm greater maybe than most people, but are you as great as you? And how much more would you be willing to choose and voice in the world if you're actually willing to choose to be as great as you? What that is and how it'll show up, that's the adventure. Follow the lightness, you'll know. You're so welcome. Wow. So I got to say, there's not much of a brain left for me as well. So there's a lot of space. And, you know, I've been asking for more ease of that facilitation of the space that has no solidity. So I'm now asking you for your questions to see where else we can go. What would you like to know about being the possibility in the world? What have you made having a voice mean to you? What have you defined having a voice mean to you? You know, in these Right Voice for You classes, you know, oftentimes you'll see a graphic where there's a mic and oftentimes people think they're singing. Now that is one of the ways we play, because when you get up on stage and you go to sing, there's all these things that come up, but it's not actually about the singing. And at the same time, there's actors and singers that come to this class, yes, but it's about you showing up in your world as you, all of you, willing to mess it up, willing to have fun, whether anybody likes you or not. And it's also about having the tools to be aware of the energies that show up and receiving everything so you can use that to your advantage. So, Alejandro, speak to prove that I am enough is what comes to my awareness. Yeah, wow. So, and have you been aware of people? Do you guys ever watch those TED Talks or different people, speak and maybe, even attend other Zooms? And there's an energy that shows up where you're like, what is this? Like, what is this? And I've seen some TED Talks, they're like, why do I just want to turn it off or move to the next one? Like it doesn't have the energy to draw you in. So if you're speaking to prove that you're enough, is that engaging and connecting with the people? Or is that making you more interesting rather than interested in everyone else? So if you weren't speaking to prove anything, what would you say? Or would you be aware of? Yeah, exactly. Everything. And then you get to choose. Everything becomes available. But how many of us are still searching for that right answer, that right way? What's the right voice? And people who speak like this and look like this, they tend to have a lot of people in their classes. They get a lot of followers. So I should speak like this, look like this. So would you like to destroy and uncreate that? And ask for the space, the energy, the consciousness, the magic, the miracles, impossibilities of you as the gift, unique gift you are to show up. Because when you are that space of you being you, that is a delicious space that pulls people, draws people, because it's almost as if we're all very aware that it's possible, yet very few people have chosen it. I remember when I first met Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, in my first evening intro class. I could not believe what he was saying, but I laughed so hard. And I just thought, this man's willing to say and be whatever energy is required to contribute to the person on the mic. But I laughed and amazing class. And then the next, like it skipped one night, I think. And then Dane came in another evening and he did an intro class. And I was just amazed because Dane, if you guys know Dr. Dane, he can be so many energies as well. But he was being an energy that I had judged about me, that energy where you're bouncing in too many things and you're, it's like you're popping and around and not finishing your sentences. And he said, yes, I have ADHD, autism and, all these other labels all rolled up into one. And I thought, oh, it's okay. And I remember in a break, I said, oh my goodness, thank you so much. I never realized it was okay. People call you crazy, you don't make sense, kind of, but he was congruent and there was an energy of him being an allowance of him and not judging myself. And I had never met anyone that could be on a stage speaking to a group of people and not judge themselves. And that was a gift. So what if you, being the voice of possibilities, could also be when you speak and you don't judge you? Do you get what a contribution that would be on the planet if you chose not to judge you? Now you'd be a little weird or maybe a lot weird and really different because people are waiting for you to go to judgment because that's what everybody does. If you didn't go into judgment, you'd be really weird. Are you willing to be that weird? And invite all of us to a different possibility. All of us. What if by you choosing not to judge you, you invite the planet to a space and a possibility? What if it's not even about the people anymore? What space can you choose to be as you speak and walk on this planet that would contribute to it incredible space. I'm right now at El Lugar in Costa Rica, and there is a space like I walk, a few minutes across the way. There's construction going on, but it's like the plants, I can hear them. And it's just like the smile and the birds between play and, chasing each other. And it's just like, oh my goodness, what if I could perceive and receive everywhere I go? But I have to acknowledge I'm here too. So yes, beautiful things all around, magic occurring, but you're there noticing it, and that creates something greater. Do you guys get that? You create something greater by receiving and acknowledging the magic, the beauty, the possibilities. Cool. Okay, we're done. I'm just kidding. That was beautiful. I'm inspired. It was good for me. Was it good for you? All right, I see some messages on the chat. And if you notice this energy about me, and I'm only sharing it because I'd like you to be aware of your energy, I have fun with what I choose. Like I have a joy in facilitating. I don't know how many calls I facilitated in meetings I've had today, maybe 4, 5. Anyways, but I have a lot of fun and I'm laughing because I actually, I'm not saying it's perfect or I'm perfect, no way, but I'm willing to laugh at myself and have fun. What if you had more of that in your life? Do you have that? What would that create if you had even more? I've chosen some pretty interesting things recently. And I'm all, what the heck did I choose? And it's like, all right, I'm not going to judge it. What new awareness do I have? And it's like, if you're willing to laugh at you, and that's one of the gifts of Right Voice for You. It's like, if you can get to that space of laughter, what it creates. And I know we have a couple of people on here that have taken a Right Voice for You recently. And I'm not going to force anybody to speak. And I know that there's a beautiful lady, Ruth, who's on here that also allowed herself to have that exuberant expression and joy so much that she created the movement and had us all dancing around the room, which was different for her not to stop herself and have her invite us to that. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Ruth. And if you'd like to say it in Spanish, the translator can always add. ¿Quieres decir algo, Ruth, sobre eso, de tu experiencia? Let's see if she's willing to. So she was in the last
Hola, buenas noches.
Colombia. Hello.
Gracias, Silvia. Bueno, pues para mí la verdad es que voy a bajar acá un segundo. Para mí fue una experiencia mágica, realmente. No sé si me van a traducir o sigo hablando. Para mí fue una experiencia mágica.
Hold on, Ruth. Do we have a translator that can translate in Spanish?
Yes, Margarita.
Is she able to pop on? Is she on both?
I'm in both right now, so sigue hablando Ruth y ya te traduzco.
Okay, para mí fue una experiencia mágica realmente, porque bueno, tenía como unos paradigmas o unas situaciones por allí que no me permitían hablar en público y fue muy gracioso algo que sucedió dentro de la clase. No sé si lo cuento de una vez.
Espera.
For me, it was very fun what happened at class. I had short situations I'm willing to tell you guys. Sorry, I lost the other part. Puedes hablar un poco más cortado, por fin, para yo poder retener todo.
Entonces, había una situación dentro de la que una persona pues, tuvo un momento de llanto, después hubo un momento de risa, entonces para mí fue como, wow, esto es la voz correcta, la risa correcta, el llanto correcto.
So for me, there was some people laughing, some people crying, and it was like, this is the right cry for you, the right love for you, the right voice for you.
Y en ese instante, aunque me dio risa, no fui capaz de transmitirlo en la clase por todo esto que tenía ya como guardado. Entonces se lo transmití a Silvia y lo empezamos a trabajar y la verdad fue fantástico.
And in that moment, I didn't choose to laugh out loud. because I was doing myself wrong. But then I realized that, and I talked to Sylvia, and she helped me. She helped me to facilitate that.
No solamente terminé hablando en público, riéndome, gozando, bailando, sino que todos bailaron conmigo.
I just not had fun and laughed at all, but everyone was ended up dancing with me in the class.
A partir de allí, pues aparte del gozo y
Stella, did you find the unmuted bean? Cristian, I found them. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ruth.
Entonces, a partir de este instante, pues bueno, fue una facilitación hermosa que de verdad te le agradezco, Silvia, y a todo el grupo, que aquí hay varias personas que estuvieron conmigo en este instante. A partir de ello se dieron muchas posibilidades en cuanto a la forma en que me estoy dirigiendo ya a grupos en los live, lo que he creado. Este fin de semana, bueno, desde el fin de semana anterior estuve en Vallarta, estuve en el Fundamento, me creé... Perdón.
So this is crazy for me. I was in the class with Ruth, but I'm still just learning. And well, what I get about what she said, she was with Sylvia this weekend in Vallarta, and she's speaking about everything that's been happening for her after the class and after feeling on her, like feeling herself more confident in herself with what she is.
Entonces, este cambio de poder expresar mi voz, que como le decía Silvia, yo creo que es la voz mucho más allá de las palabras, es la voz como te puedes expresar tú mismo, pues me llevó a un espacio grandioso. Realmente, cuando conocí a Silvia aquí en La Voz Correcta, le conté algo que estaba como en mi mente, estaba haciendo preguntas. Tuve la experiencia de vivirlo este fin de semana con todas ellas, incluyendo al doctor Benjía.
So she was about being more herself and being more comfortable on all the facilitation she had from Sylvia and in the class. She allowed herself to be more present and be true to herself and enjoy the weekend event with Dr. Dane here.
Entonces, estos 2 meses han sido de cambio total para mí.
And I want to thank you, Ruth, because there's this energy where you said, you know, at one point in the class, like it seemed, oh, it's about right cry for you, right laugh for you. But it's like, and this last part that you said, it's beyond the words, like you're beginning to perceive that right voice for you is also beyond the words. So, and I like, and it kind of goes with the question that Marco on the chat is mentioning, but it's like, what have you all avoided acknowledging about the space of you that may not require all the words, like Juliana in the chat also mentioned? You know, many of us think we have to say everything we're aware of, that we have to speak so that everybody can understand and receive it. So what question can you be of what can I say here that people can receive that could change everything? So thank you, Ruth. And, you know, when she said about Puerto Vallarta, she goes, all of a sudden I saw her and she's like, oh my goodness, Sylvia, I think I've just actualized what I asked for at Right Voice for You. Like, here I am in the midst of, you know, creating and contributing. So it's like, what if it can show up that easily? What if you ask and it can show up that easily? You just, yeah. So thank you, Ruth, because it was a lot of fun to see that. And Ruth has such this joy that she would always be laughing, like someone should up, she'd get the giggles, but she was also criticized for laughing a lot. So how many of you were criticized for either laughing a lot, talking a lot, too much energy, whatever it was, that all of a sudden you're like, okay, I must become something different, right? And you lose yourself in trying to fit in other people's reality. So everywhere you have lost your voice. Wow. So at what age did you lose your voice? Woo. Okay, you can write it in the chat, but wow, everything that is, or hide your true voice. So everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pan pak, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Whew. So there's quite a few questions, comments on the chat. So let me see if I can catch a couple here. But just notice right now that energy about, wow, when did I start to hide my voice? When did I lose my voice? Like, who did I lose my voice for? What did I, like, what had me choose to hide it? What continues to have me hide it? So everything that is and everything that brings up for you, even if it doesn't, even if it's not a specific thing showing up, is there an energy of like, oh shoot, yes, I'm hiding. I'm avoiding. What are you avoiding with the voice you could be choosing? So everything that is and everything that brings up. I think I lost Andrea. Andrea's down. Acertado, equivocado. See, now even went to Spanish. Right and wrong, good and bad, pan, pack, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Yeah. So what would it be like? Here's a little, I like giving home plays. Here's a home play. You know, I'm curious. What would it be like for you? It's not about not speaking, but noticing everywhere you go where you might want to fill up the space with words if you don't speak. You allow yourself to receive and ask, is there anything I can say here that would create more consciousness? And you'll hear people talk. You can ask them a question, but don't add any more. Now, if you're a talker, people are going to go, what's wrong with you today? But just notice what else can be available. And then notice, what if the space of you is already communicating so much? Okay. And then Marco, I'm going to go to your question. I don't know if you can unmute and we can go if there's more here. But he says, often when I do Facebook Lives by myself, as I start the live, the space contracts and my words leave. So I start to riff about anything that comes up. And often by the end of it, I am not satisfied. Is that judgment? If I choose then to do it again, it shows up more congruent with my awareness of the live. Okay, wow. And this is actually one of the exercises we do in Right Voice for You, has to do with filming and video, because there is something, you guys are all aware. So, and you get play with this and just notice a video just to you, to yourself. And then when you go live, some people say lives are easier because they have some engagement with people. But the thing is, you are so aware. So if you're doing a live, if you're doing a video and you're going to share that, you are actually, and you guys tell me, I know it sounds crazy, but is it light in your world? So you are so aware that you will perceive all the people that will watch that video and the replay all at once. And all their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And if you're super, super aware, like Mr. Marco, then that's going to come in pretty intense. So are you refusing to receive all of that? Do you have a point of view about receiving all of that? And if you didn't have a point of view of receiving all of that, how can you use that to your advantage? So would you allow yourself to pause to start your live and drop your barriers and receive and receive and receive? And as you're aware of something, what could you say about that? What could you contribute to people about that? Because this is the part through Right Voice for You, there's exercise where you really allow yourself that space of vulnerability that we haven't allowed ourselves to have. Everywhere we're trying to get it perfect. Everywhere we want to say the right words so people hear us as intelligent. I always tell people I have an advantage. I've never considered myself intelligent. So I'm willing to be dumb. So I'm willing to go wherever I go and possibly have way more fun than most. And at the same time, I'm also willing to perceive the energy and the thoughts of the people who really do judge me as dumb. It's like, okay, that's fine. Am I having more fun than most? Yes. Am I generating and creating a lot more money than most? Yes. Am I living a reality beyond this reality? Yes. And asking for way more. So if you didn't have to follow anybody's paradigm of what's a good life, what's the best way to say it, and you were just being you, Marco, what would be different about your lives?
Well, thank you. What came up to me now that you speak about is I'm actually trying to match the title, or let's say the target of the live. You know, when you have a live on a topic, and this topic is actually like really pinging you, then you want to do a live about it. You wanna actually how can I say, extrapolate about this, and then suddenly out of words and in totally different spaces, and being just like, what the fuck, where everything went.
So
Sorry for the French.
no, that's fine. So this is perfect though, because this is, I mean, we have a title for this pre-Zoom as well, and we're going in many places and spaces. So when you are willing to receive from everyone and everything, things will change. And if you're willing to be interested in them, you would allow the change. Because it's not about what you have to say. It's about what they can receive and what will create the most in that moment. Because this is the part that, I mean, there's multiple things, but one is, wow, what can be heard now? And, you know, is it that you're lit up about something? Go for it. But then notice, is there something else that's having this energy showing up? It's like, okay, I'm going to speak about that. And the gift of that, when you go that way, is that there's people there listening that have something about that up. And that'll be the contribution, because they will feel connected to and heard. If you stay on your own topic, it becomes all about you and about what you've decided needs to be said.
Okay, so if nobody is in the live, or nobody yet is in the live, then what I'm aware of is the future.
So you can ask, are you aware of a future? Yes. And you can still go on to that live with that awareness and allow it to contribute and see how it shows up. But what if you didn't have to stick to it?
Yeah, too much fun. I wouldn't choose it.
Yes, way more fun. And you might cover everything you wanted to cover, and it's just going to show up in a different way.
Totally. Thank you. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah. And that's the willingness to also listen to the whispers, because consciousness is always speaking to you. And, you know, there's so many other things, but that moment to go, okay, is now the time, and maybe it's not, or something else showed up that you can give voice to, unlike anyone else. And for me, being that voice of possibilities is that you get to that acknowledgement of what is it that you can bring to the world? What is it that you be that's so different, that invites a different possibility in the world, unlike anybody else can? And if each and every one of us acknowledged that, claimed, owned, and truly acknowledged it, we would be on a different planet. So what could you voice that only you could voice it that way? I love it. Someone from my team the other day, we were talking about business. We were in a Business Done Different, which, by the way, starts tomorrow here from El Lugar. I'm so excited. A new three-day class. And in that class, we were talking, and I asked something about, oh, how many of you, actually, what did I say, that have a business, don't have a business? And she kind of went like, well, kind of, sort of. And she goes, wow, I find myself comparing my business to yours and to Access. And I thought, wow, like that is such like, it's like the moment you compare yourself, it's like, yes, please be inspired by everyone that it, can inspire you to something greater. But what if the question is like, wow, well, what do I know? And what's my way of creating business and my voice? Because I know this amazing being, and she's on the call, this amazing being, Alejandra, and she has this amazing presence of her being her. And it's like, more of that, please. And it's that willingness to go, wow, yes, inspired. But how many of you are resisting and avoiding being all of you because you think people will think they're less than you? But what if you could actually be the invitation to way, way more? Cool. So anything that doesn't allow that, for you to be inspired by you, for you to like you enough to laugh at your own jokes. So everything that is, yeah, right, wrong, good, bad, pan, pak, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Yeah. Awesome. I'm just going through the chat, and now there's 20 messages I haven't seen. So does anybody like to ask a question out loud?
We have a question in Spanish, Luti.
Sí, hay preguntas
Spanish chat.
en el chat español. Las puedo poner en mi celular el sonido para que ella pueda traducir. ¿Está bien?
Yes. Are they here? So, well, there's one while you're putting them in the chat. Or are you going to say them out loud, Luti? I'm sorry, or wasn't clear. Or are you going to write them in?
La persona puede preguntar por aquí que yo pongo mi celular. Yo voy a hacer la pregunta por aquí. Yo leo la pregunta en el chat. ¿Ok? Perfecto. Entonces vamos al chat. Espera. Ya. La pregunta es de Paola. Ella dijo que cuando ella habla en público, en el trabajo, se le olvida lo que va a decir y no expresa lo que quiere decir y le tiembla la voz. Paola.
So Paola is asking that when she's at work, she forgets what she needs to say and she lost her voice.
So for many people, this is something that shows up, either they go on stage or they're interviewed or where all of a sudden, like something occurs and their brain kind of disappears, and what they were going to say and they had rehearsed all night, all of a sudden is gone. And, you know, this physical sensation too, where people say, my hands get sweaty, I shake. So what is that? What is that you're aware of? So, and, you know, and there's so much I can share right now, but it's like one of the things that I get that is limiting that ease and that space that we can be as we speak or are in front of many people is the willingness to receive with no point of view. So are you willing to be adored? Ask yourself, every single one of you, are you willing to be adored? Are you willing to be lusted after? Are you willing to not be liked? Are you willing to be hated? Are you willing to be envied? And are you, what else? So what are you, wow, defending and avoiding with all of those? Being lusted after, adored, hated, loved, not liked, that keeps you from having the ease, the space of being you and receiving everything with no point of view. So everything that brings up, will you all destroy and uncreate all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pan pak, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So next time you go up on stage or you go to speak, there's an exercise. You guys have probably heard it if you've heard of Access Consciousness, and it's the willingness to drop your barriers. Because many of us walk around the world, especially when we get on stage or in front of a camera, and we go, vroom. Let me speak so no one sees me or hears me So I will be protected some way. But if I have this wall, I should be good. And the willingness to drop that barrier and go, oh my goodness, wow. Because it can get intense because you're aware, not intense because it's bad, it's just intense. Whew, there's a lot of people and a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, a lot of things going on. Drop your barriers, receive it, receive it, receive it. And I always use this example of, those, the screens on your windows where it keeps the mosquitoes out or the flies from coming in. Imagine you're that. So it's like you can receive everything, and what's going to contribute to you, great. And what's not, okay, thank you for sharing, goodbye. And allow yourself to receive it all with no point of view. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's just whatever it is. Drop your barriers, and it's like, but if you're not resisting and fighting it, you'll be more relaxed. Okay, your hands sweat a little, that's okay. Let them know, wow, my hand's sweating. Like you can tell on yourself, and it just relaxes everybody. Because how many people see you speak and they freak out? They're like, oh, I could never do that. And so you're aware of their freak out and you think it's your freak out and it's not even yours. So one incredible tool is, who does this belong to? Is this mine or someone else's? But yes, you can tell on yourself. Let them know. Wow, coming up here, it was relaxed when I was down sitting in the chair, but now coming up here with all you, I'm not so relaxed. So if my voice trembles, I'm a little nervous. Play with it. Have fun with it. People actually appreciate that. You don't have to have it perfect. And then notice where you want to put up your barriers again and demand to drop them. So it's an ongoing muscle. And this is one of the things that makes Right Voice for You so different, is that when we have a stage, but we always invite people up in front of the class to go through different kinds of exercises, because you'll get to that edge where you want to stop. You want to run, you want to hide. And those are the spaces that come up in your life where you're hiding and you're not showing up. So the more we get to play with that, the more space that opens up, and you get to speak, and you might catch yourself saying things you never imagined saying. And I can perceive there's interesting energies with private chats, I'm sure, going on. How does it get any better? Awesome. So I hope, did that help? Paula, was it Paula? Did that? Cool. There's one other question I'll get to before we wrap up, and that's Carol. Is this the Carol that I know? Is this the same Carol from Brazil, Sao Paulo? Let's see if I can you want to translate that one, Luciana? Or is there someone else?
Yes.
Okay.
Ok. Estelinha, que aí siempre... no, mejor tú, Estela, por inglés de una.
Thank you.
I always had difficulty in expressing myself. I perceive that I have a throat irritation that became a tick. So what contribution can I have to destroy it and create this trauma and put my voice in the world?
It's so interesting in that space there. It's like I'm aware of your body. And this is, we just had the last call for 9 trannies. So I'm aware of all that is occurring as you ask, and my body is aware of your body. And these are some of the things. So in Right Voice for You, if you're up on stage, I may ask if I can touch you. So if you were on stage, which now you're distance miles away, but there's still that willingness to perceive what you've locked in. So two things. What have you locked in there in your throat that you're not willing to let go of? What are you defending and avoiding with that throat irritation that you have? So everything that is and everything that brings up, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pan, pac, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, Carol, did it change a little there with that? Yes or no? Okay, cool. I think that's a yes. That's like a wow. Okay, cool. That's a big yes. Okay, so the part of acknowledging, I said, did it change a bit? Because every little bit that you perceive change and you acknowledge it, it'll create more. So keep asking that. What are you defending? What are you avoiding with that locking in or whatever you've done to your throat? And then pock and pot it, give it more space, more space. Because this is the amazing gift also of our bodies. If we have created a point of view, it's like, oh, I'll never speak again. Your body goes, oh, I can help you with that. I got the thing for you. Or if there's things that there's any experience you had where, you know, there was that moment you froze, like our bodies are helping us. So maybe it can also contribute if you actually acknowledged your body for the gift it's been giving you with this throat irritation. It's not a wrongness. What if everything is changeable? I know it sounds weird, but if you're so welcome, Carol. Awesome. Well, I'm grateful. I mean, this was a short little mini class. If anything, it's like, wow, there's tools and questions and spaces here. But if anything, I would love everybody to know that there is nothing you cannot say or be if you actually chose to say or be that. But you got to be willing to stop buying the lies and the limitations that you've made so true and real. And it might not be easy overnight, but even with Carol right here, the gift of asking a true question and you willing to perceive and receive will unlock what you have used maybe as your biggest justification and reason for not speaking, not being that voice with or without words. So, you know, we have amazing Right Voice for You facilitators all around the world. So if you're not able to come to one of mine, please look for someone in your area. Again, the 3-day class is only live. I'll be in Mexico City. Actually, I'm headed to Argentina for a class on the 8th, and then Mexico City, I believe the 28th, and then in Italy at the castle. Yes, at the castle. May, I think 12th, 13th, and 14th, which is right before the certified training for Right Voice for You facilitators. So, you know, if you're a certified facilitator, you can jump in. And yes, I would love to go everywhere. Uruguay, someone invited me to France. I really would. And as many of you know, I have a very, very full schedule. I'm also the coordinator of events for Access Consciousness, and you know, things are picking up and I'm so grateful. We'll be having live classes, but when I can, you will find me in a class near you. So you're welcome to fly Mexico City, Argentina, Italy, and we'll see where else I go. But truly, truly, what would this world be if you actually allowed yourself to receive with no point of view? And then ask, what could you voice unlike anybody else? And it's a space of actually voicing what's true for you, but it doesn't mean you have to say everything. You get to be everything. And then with what you say, there's so much that can be received. Amazing. And yes, coming to Brazil soon too. Yes, in June. Thank you, Monique. And we've actually scheduled some way in advance. All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for your engagement in the chat. Thank you for your questions and your space. And thank you to my team. I'm so grateful for my team. Can I just say I'm so grateful because they have such an allowance for the chaos of my schedule, my traveling, and they continue to be available. And not only available, but continue to be a space of, we got you, we got your back. We'll make this happen. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And translators, gracias, thank you, obrigada. All of you, I don't know it in Turkish, otherwise I would say that, because it's very late for you or very early, and I'm so grateful. So I hope to see you guys somewhere in the world for Right Voice for You. And if you have the courage and you desire, you could still jump on Business Done Different, which I believe someone's going to jump on for one of the days for a short little bit to contribute to the class as well. How did we get so lucky? So changing realities and definitely way more joy. All right. Ciao, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Ciao.